Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and friends beyond the binary. It's time for the podcaster who, if I did wear armor, it would be pillowy armor, pillowy soft armor, armor against just, non-sleepy stuff. You say, well, what good would that do? I'd get, well, against, it's for comfort. What do you mean? I got pillow armor, one for my head, one for curling up under my arm, one for my knees, one for pushing over to the side of the bed and pulling it back over later, one to put over my head. It's like a utility belt, but it's a suit of our pillows, pillow suits. What am I talking about? I don't know, but it's time for Sleep With Me. Clearly, the podcast will put you to sleep. And this section of the show is only important for regular listeners, all-night listeners particularly, because these are ways we're able to keep the show free for everybody. Hey, it's 2020, and I wanted to check in with you about my goals for the podcast for 2020. It's keeping it free for everybody, and I do that through the people that support the sponsors and become patrons. But it's also thinking about, geez, could we build the Patreon to the point where I could put out even more content for patrons? So if you're not a patron and you've been on the fence, think about becoming a patron this year. You could check out our goals for the year at sleepwithmepodcast.com/patron. And not only do you get the peace of mind and the pride of being a part of a small group of people that support the podcast, it gets downloaded millions of times every month to put people to sleep. That's something patrons are pretty proud of, as well as knowing the podcast is there whenever they need it. They get ad-free episodes. They get story-only episodes. $10 up patrons get all intro episodes. There's super deluxe episodes, audio from live shows. So if you want more to sleep to, more to listen to, more to relax to, or you say, well, I actually prefer the intros or I prefer the stories, you get your own podcast feed on Patreon, and you can listen to it in most podcast apps, and then you make a playlist. You say, well, I just want to listen to intros, or I just want to listen to stories. Or what is really popular with patrons is they take an ad-free, brand-new episode, and then they create a playlist where that goes first, and then a bunch of story-only episodes go, and they listen to that all night long. Or some patrons use the all-night episodes, TNG, Ray, tons of stuff. So there's no better time to become a patron than tonight. Help keep the show going. Help us reach our goals in 2020. That would be awesome. Can you imagine getting a bunch more Ray episodes if you're a Ray fan? So think about it, or it would be cool to do some more on-location episodes as well. Go to sleepwithmepodcast.com/patron. Become a patron. Set up your Patreon feed. You'll be really happy you did. And if you're ever curious about how to get everything done, if you're a patron and you're listening to this, you say, well, I haven't said, go to sleepwithmepodcast.com/Patreon FAQ. That's sleepwithmepodcast.com/Patreon FAQ. for the instructions on adding that podcast feed to a podcast app. Thanks, everybody. All right, everybody, it's time for the Sleepy Supporter Zone, the one part of the show I can't pronounce always, but that I need you to hear because it's what helps us keep the podcast free for everybody, are the listeners that go out of their way to support the sponsors. And really, I have a huge amount of gratitude. Tonight, it's to Eric for supporting Sleep Phones. And then Liz, Robert, and Alan, all for supporting and sharing about their experiences with their chilly sleep systems. I really appreciate it. I couldn't bring you the show for free without those listeners. So thank you so much, Eric, Liz, Robert, and Alan. I really appreciate the support. If you want to get on the Sleepy Supporter Zone and help to keep the show free for everybody, support a sponsor. Then tag them on Instagram or Twitter. Let me know about it, or send them an email, but let them know how much you appreciate their support of Sleep With Me, how much it means to you. And that is the spirit of the Sleepy Supporter Zone, which is now over. Oh, Mystery Bard, I heard it through I didn't hear it through the grapevine. I heard it through the podvine. You got a new podcast out, and a lot of people help out on the show. Who are they?
Chris Posty Posterson sounds like an earful. Wrote the theme song. Edits episodes. Carl W. the Legend also edits episodes. Kenny, Scotty, and Jennifer. Runner. Eric and the team at Astound are on the website. I am the Mystery Bard. I do the lullaby zone. I'm making a podcast. Writing songs. It's called As It Happens. Song a day. And you can find it. Just search for it. You see the kindness shine straight on through when the listeners form their own Facebook group. Keith, Stacy, Sarah, Julie, and Jennifer. These are your moderators. Get support dear Scooter on Patreon. Buy the merch and support the sponsors. You can find anything you want at sleepwithmepodcast.com. And we're so proud that we could dance to be part of Nine Vale Presents. So now on with the show.
Thanks, Mr. Bard. I'm at Dearest Scooter on Twitter and Instagram. That's where you can find me. And remember, this holiday season, share some podcasts with the people you encounter. Show them how to look them up on their phone. Show them what their podcast app looks like, how to use it. Because with podcasts, you know, it's nice to show somebody, and it's nice to be shown. And then when you find podcasts just like you did, probably, you fall in love with them. So share some podcasts this holiday season, and let's get on with the show. Hey, are you up all night, tossing, turning, mind racing, trouble getting to sleep, trouble staying asleep? Well, welcome. This is Sleep With Me, the podcast that puts you to sleep. We do it with a bedtime story. All you need to do is get in bed, turn out the lights, and press play. I'm going to do the rest. And what I'm going to attempt to do is create a safe place where you could set aside whatever's keeping you awake, whether it's thoughts, things you're thinking about, physical sensations, anything physically, feelings, any emotions or stuff like that coming up. Thoughts, feelings, physical sensation, changes in routine, time, temperature, life stuff, you know what I'm saying? Or work stuff, or stuffity stuff. When you say it like that, it doesn't sound so bad. It makes it more, it still doesn't make you say, oh boy, how was your day? Maybe that could be a new shorthand for sleep. If you say stuffity stuff. It's three stuffs, like with two stuffities, I think. Stuffity stuff. You got to say it like that. Go ahead and say it in bed. It's like a self-care, self-empathy, not self-empathy. Yeah, self-empathy, not self-empathy, which is not a word. A little bit of self-compassion. Just say that to yourself and let the air out. And kind of imagine you're giving yourself a hug, or give yourself an actual hug. Stuffity stuff. We've gone off the rails earlier than ever, but that's a joke for long-time listeners, but pretty close to it. So whatever's keeping you awake, I'd like to take your mind off of that. And what I'm going to do is create a safe place where you could set aside, like I said, whatever it is, all that stuffity and stuff. We have stuff sacks here in this safe place, and cubbies. I like to mention the cubbies we had put in years ago, right after I wrote that famous poem, An Ode to Cubbies. Oh, no, I wrote it after. You're right. Oh, no, that was a song. When I would sing I said, it's like plants. Cubbies need to be sung to, too. And even the installer from Cubbies Unlimited, by the way. Tonight's podcast sponsored by Cubbies. Cubbies Unlimited. Oh, whoops. It's unlimited. Sorry, they pulled their sponsorship. Turns out it was Cubbies Unlimited for your unlimited cubby needs. Does that mean, but they didn't go well when I first started working with them. So, because I said, does that mean each cubby can fit in an unlimited amount of things? And they said, no, it's the name of the company. It's catchy. And I said, yeah. But now I'm just thinking about an unlimited cubby, and because then it makes me think of an everlasting gobstopper. And did you put any cubbies in the Wonka factory? Have you ever worked with any of the Wonkas before? Or Charlie? Did Charlie change his name to Wonka? I didn't read those books. Charlie Wonka. That's somebody I'd write a check to, maybe. Was there ever like a fourth book where Charlie ran for office? Town magistrate? I don't know what Charlie would run for. The king of chocolate. You wouldn't have to run for that. But Charlie Wonka. This message is brought to you by Charlie Wonka. I can hear it. Sorry, where was I? Oh, what I'm going to do is try to create a safe place where you could set aside whatever's keeping you awake. And I'm going to send my voice across the deep, dark night. I'm going to use a lulling, soothing, chocolate for all. That would be Charlie's thing, I think. Just in case, because I was just trying to say to my brain bots, that's not very sleepy. But I say, well, no, it's chocolate for all, not at bedtime. Charlie didn't turn into a antagonist or anything. Don't worry. Still protagonist. I realized that Charlie Wonka could have, what would isn't it a policy, Charlie Wonka would have the most policy wonks. They said, well, yeah, okay, so I'm going to send my voice across the deep dark night. Lulling, soothing, creaky, dulcet tones, pointless meanders, superfluous tangents. Chocolate for everyone. That just came in from the campaign. They said, not chocolate for all, chocolate for everyone. And they said, that sounds more like a slogan for your company. Okay, get back to the intro. So, send my voice. Here, I know if you're new, you could already be a bit, I don't think you'd be bemused right now. You could be confused, which is natural. This podcast is a little bit different. So let me give you the basics. I'm here to keep you company while you fall asleep and to take your mind off of stuff. Structurally, the show, it starts off with a few minutes of business. That's how we keep the podcast free for everybody. Then there's an intro, which we're about 5 minutes into. The intros usually go 12 to 20 minutes of me. Try what you just saw happen. I said, well, let me talk about the podcast and let me introduce the new listeners. Then I got distracted by one thing. I'm not even sure what that was anymore. Next thing you know, I don't even know how I got involved with Charlie Wonka, but wasn't I saying, oh, whoops, I forgot it. I forgot what our saying was, our self-healing saying, stuffity, stuffity, stoof, stuffity, stuffity, stuff. I think that was it, huh? Sorry. Sorry about that. I was also trying to introduce the podcast, believe it or not. But if you're new, some new listeners could say, what are you doing? Like, when are you going to get to the point? What is this? What do you keep talking to us and asking us about, and talking about, and I'd say, yeah, no, it's a natural reaction. It's okay. I know the podcast can put people in a bit of a prickly mood when you're new. I mean, I guess, of course, when you're new, because if it would constantly put you in a prickly mood, unless you're a porcupine, which I'd be honored to have the porcupine community listening to this show. Also, if I could get your vote for Charlie Wonka, I seem to have started working for that imaginary campaign. I don't know. Who has the rights to write those like fan fiction sequels? I don't know if I could, but I shouldn't, for sure. You're right. Whatever reasonable part of me just said you shouldn't. And I said, well, you're right about that. Just because you could doesn't mean you should. You're right. A little moral of the story. So the intro, like I said, if you're new, you might be like, what are you still, I don't know what this dude is going on about. And I say, yeah, I'm here to take your mind off stuff. Now, the intro is a little bit rambly, because the whole idea is it eases you into bedtime, whether you're getting ready for bed, so you're not in bed yet and you're listening. I don't know, maybe you got your phone speaker, your smart speaker, your headphones, however you're listening and you're getting ready for bed, or you're in bed, easing into bedtime. Ideally, the podcast becomes part of your wind down routine. You could skip the intros, but once you get used to the show, you'll kind of see what works for you. So there's the intro. It's 12 to 18 to 20 minutes. This could be 13, 14, 15, 16, or 19 as well. And I'm sorry, my brain, there's just this, I have a one-track mind, and right now it's going down that one track. So I got to go stuffity, stuffity, stuff to try to get can't get Wonka off my mind. That was the song I proposed, that was the song I proposed to the campaign. And they said, we don't even remember starting a campaign. I'm still trying to get grandma and grandpa their own beds. Okay, so So there's an intro. Then there's some business. And then tonight we'll be talking about Mandalorian. And you might say, Scoots, isn't that action-packed, Western adventure, fantasy, TV, television, a streaming program? How could I possibly sleep through that? Doesn't it also have extreme amounts of cuteness and shiny stuff? And I'd say, well, not in my version, not in my recap. My recap will be observant. I say, well, this was interesting. And I noticed they sat down, they crossed their legs. That was very nice. And I have some, you say, well, that reminds me of this character. So that's what it'll be an appreciative observation. Maybe I'll look some stuff up depending on our time. So a snoozy recap like that you could sleep to or relax to. Because the whole idea of the show is you're under no pressure to listen. So I'm going to be here for about an hour to keep you company as you drift off. So you don't have to listen to me. You could turn me down, or you could just kind of partially listen, or you could let me float in and out of focus. But if you can't sleep, I'm going to be here to the very end to keep you company, because that's my job. I'm here to keep you company as you drift off. I don't know. That's what's important to me. So that's what's important to me. I guess that's that. I'm going to be, no pressure to listen, no pressure to fall asleep either. That's what I was going to say. I'm going to be here to the very end. So if you can't sleep, I'm here to keep you company and just drift off when you want. That's why the episodes are about an hour. Let's see. Any other things you should know? I mean, the reason I make the show is because I've been there and, I just want to keep you company as you drift off. So, I mean, that's it. That's the structure of the show. If you're new or skeptical still, I mean, give it a few tries. That's what, I'm not exaggerating. I maybe have heard from like a million people that it took 2 or 3 tries for them to get used to the podcast before they became a regular listener. And hundreds of thousands of those people would just listen to the podcast like situationally for a little while. I mean, I just heard from a listener that doesn't even listen anymore. She came back as a patron, Anna Banana, like a listener like 4 or 5 years ago. And now is a mom and says, well, I don't need the podcast anymore, but I just wanted to check in and support you for a little bit. So it does take 2 or 3 tries. I don't know what that has to do with taking 2 or 3 tries, but just that a lot of people say that. So see how it goes. It's a podcast that's kind of meant to be consumed passively. You could be grouchy. I mean, I totally am aware of the fact that this podcast does make you grouchy. I mean, if I was there, I guess it would depend. I'd try to make light of it and say, of course you're grouchy. Like, check me out. I'm full of stuffy stuff. And I say that. I did work on the Charlie Walker campaign. I think it would be good. So I don't think it would be, I mean, I guess if it was, I guess I'm just starting to write this Charlie Walker. I can't, now don't ask me to do this because I can only speculate, speculative fan fiction speculation. I can't actually write any fan fiction. But I think the best journey would be that Charlie would, it could be like a love story. Really, where, Charlie Wonka, has there been any of those? I don't know how many Charlie and the Chocolate Factory sequels there are, book-wise. Right now, my book queue is full. I'm actually behind in, I was going to read some Star Wars novels, but I'm, picked up this new trilogy that I can't let go of. Anyway, so I guess that's it. I'm glad you're here. What I just want you to know is I really want to help it, but this podcast doesn't work for everybody. If it definitely doesn't work for you, go to sleepwithmepodcast.com/no thank you to check out some other options. But I'm glad you're here. I work very hard. I yearn and I strive, and I really want to help you fall asleep. Thanks again for coming by. And here's a couple of ways we keep this podcast free for everybody. Hey, I don't know if your 2020 goal was to sleep more, to give more, or to get more, but I really think you deserve all 3. I mean, that's why I make the show, is to help you fall asleep. But if you want to sleep more, give more, and get more, think about becoming a patron of Sleep With Me. Because not only will you do the give more, giving back for all the work that goes into the show that puts you to sleep, but really you'll sleep more and you'll get more. $5 patrons, they get 2 brand new ad-free episodes, no jingles, no credits song, on Sundays and Wednesdays. And then they also get 2 story-only episodes from our archives. And the patron feed goes back, I think, into the 400s. So you get access to a ton of episodes. So there's more to sleep to. And I'm giving you even more than the regular show. And there's secret patron messages at the beginning of the new episodes. There's other fun stuff in that feed. And you're part of something bigger. But if you want even more, $10 patrons get all intro episodes every other week, all night episodes every single month. And, trying to build the Patreon to a place where we could start putting out Patreon exclusive episodes. So if you become a patron this year, hopefully at some point in 2020, we'll be putting out patron only episodes from Ray, or some on-location episodes, some really fun stuff. So just think about it here. If you want to become a patron, go to sleepwithmepodcast.com/patron and sign up. You'll be giving back, and you'll be getting back, and ideally, you'll be sleeping all night long. Thanks. All right, hey, everybody. It's time to talk about Season 1, Episode 2, Chapter 2, actually, of The Mandalorian. I don't know if Chapter 1 had a name. Chapter 2 does have a name, but let's not get ahead of ourselves. It starts with a recap. Oh, by the way, if you don't watch The Mandalorian, don't worry about it. You won't. You'll sleep through this one. But it starts with a recap. I will help you. Couple notes I looked up. Muppet Babies, E.T. Finger. Then there's the Lucasfilm, the new Star Wars kind of Marvel-esque opening, some drums. Oh, I didn't look this up because I looked up platypuses too many times, or platypi. But I put a platypus something we see kind of sniffing. Well, I guess if it's a platypus, it wouldn't be sniffing around. Well, I don't know. Can platypuses smell? I don't know. I mean, I know can you smell a platypus? That'll be another children's book one day. I mean, I know it doesn't look really like a platypus, but I got to do it. Platypus is one of those things you could talk about. That's a creature you could talk about on a sleep podcast. We see some boots made for walking, and that's just what they do. A canyon, kind of like a little bit like reminded me of the part of Bryce Canyon I've never been in. I don't know. Is this the first time we see the floating pram? I don't know if it is. That would be a good magician. Or was that ever an Encyclopedia Brown, the case of the floating pram? This one floats on air, though. Then the platypi are watching they say, we're platypuses. We've never seen a pram before, but we've definitely never seen a floating pram. And the Muppet Baby, which has multiple nicknames from me, watches the platypi. It's the Mandalorian, who occasionally I call Mando, stops. There's a cool shadow in the background, but the Mandalorian is ready. And then we get some Mando moves. I said, holy Mando moves, exclamation point. And we get, let's see, Mando moves. Baby's okay, though. A lot more fobs looking for this baby. There's so many Mando moves that the Mandalorian had to breathe, zoom, and then the episode opens, Chapter 2, The Child, and right beacon repairs lantern. Okay, this is night, that actually says, and it's not a beacon, it's a lantern, and the Mandalorian's doing some repairs. Yoda-Poo, that's the first one, watches the Mandalorian doing some repairs, and then Yoda-Poo gets out, tries to help. Mandalorian's doing some breathing, a lot of breathing. Yoda-Poo reaches out. He says, "Get back in your crib, kid." He goes back to work, and then he's trying to fix his breastplate, which also needed to be rewired. Is this the right sequence? I guess oh, because when is this from? Oh, because this is from like the end of the last episode. That's right. Watching too much Mandalorian. That's why. Now it's Kid Yoda who's back. He says, no, I don't need your help. Back in the crib, we see Kid Yoda's baby teeth. Then there's some big music. And you see, what is this big music for? Oh, it's sunrise. And then just a Mando and a baby walking. Then noise music. I don't know what that means, but that'll come in important later in a different way. So I don't know if it was the same noise music. Then we see Jawas, that's Jawas, I believe, scavengers. They have the big tank building because they're scavenging. They strip down the Mandalorian's ship, and they took some of the parts. I guess were already on board the big tank. A crawling fortress, I think is what he calls it later. It has 4 tracks. They take off with what they had. They leave a few Jawas behind. And Mando jumps on board. Cradle in pursuit. That was probably my favorite part of this part of the episode. You say, got it. Cradle in pursuit. You say, I'm sorry. Did you say, are you in pursuit of a cradle? Like you're gonna get one? No. I'm watching a cradle pursuing a Mandalorian climbing on a whatever it's called, movable fortress. And you say, okay, I don't know. We see the Jawas' internal communication, like their little phone. We hear a ha, ha, ha. There's some rock dodging. But don't worry. Don't come a knocking because this cradle's still coming. It's still moving. This cradle has top speeds. I mean, I guess it doesn't have to be that fast. Rock clock with garbage. Rock climbing. The Mandalorian's doing some rock climbing, kind of like a climbing gym moves. And the Jawas are throwing garbage at him. I didn't write the time down, but it's when the Mandalorian's climbing. There's like a 10 out of 10 level sound effect. I mean, really, this is thoughtful. I mean, it's a piece of metal like flapping down, and it actually has a piece of metal flapping down sound effect. And these are the little things that really, I mean, there's other things that are impressive, but that's really impressive to me. Then there's some helmet. There are a couple. It's a good thing if you're a Mandalorian. There's a reason why you should always wear your helmet, especially when like iceberg lettuce is falling and bouncing off it from the Jawas. They said, "Here, take this cabbage. We're not making any stew later because we want to get you out of here." Even gets prodded. Excuse me, Mandalorian. I'm going to prod you about something. Then he's climbing on this crane, which seems to be easier to break than it should have been. But maybe the Jawa scavenged it from somewhere. And then the Mando gets on board of the top of the ship, like which would I call it, VIP deck if it had one. And I don't know anything about Jawas. I mean, other than, what I've seen in 2 or 3 movies. But if there was a VIP deck for Jawas, that's where he is, but only for a few seconds. Then they say, you don't have the wristband for this level. And he goes and takes a nap. This one I said, Yoda, who so cute, is watching him nap. He wakes up, him and the movable pram with Yoda, so cute, go back to his ship, not good. There's wires, which is not good. Lots of missing stuff. I mean, Yoda, so cute. His ears move so many times. I don't know if Yoda has his baby. He has a baby fur on a bit on his head that I just noticed. Working stalls. The ship won't start. Fumble jumps, 10-10. Okay, this is 1010. This is worth watching. If you're a Mandalorian fan or a fan of having a safe place, that is paradoxical a little bit. At 10:10, 10 minutes and 10 seconds, Mandalorian kind of fumble jumps down the ladder. And then he goes into that, what is it called? The oxygen, like the cryo thing. And he just lays there. I mean, he doesn't turn it on. It kind of clears his mind and take a big breath. It was like, again, another amazing moment. He kind of just sits down. He says, he has this WTF moment. And then baby, oh so cute, waddles up to him and gives him a cute look. And he says, okay, I got to keep going. It also, like, I guess I talked about this early, even though some of this hasn't happened yet, but we do get a lot of human sides of the Mandalorian, particularly in this episode, right? He's a little bit persnickety. I don't know, like, is that a real word? He can be a grouch like me. Sometimes he needs a little Mando time to think things out. So then they get off the ship, they go for a walk, there's walking music, there's journey wipes, which I don't know if we've seen journey wipes yet. And I had forgotten about them. I don't even know if they were only in the first Star Wars or what. They're like those old video effects. And I don't even know if that's what they're called, but I also that could be a brand. We could sell them as Mandalorian journey wipes. They could just be whatever those things are. You know, that you like a hot towel, wet one. Wet nap, whatever they're called, but we'd call them journey wipes. But it's also a video effect. Now it's sunset, which I thought was a nice touch since it started out in the day. And they go back to Windmill Outpost with at the Ron Perlman estate, even though it's not Ron Perlman's voice. And Baby Yoda, ooh, so cute, says the frogs are tasty. And I really like some of this dialogue. This was the fuss. Mandalorian says, I think it is a child. He says, my ship's destroyed. He goes, nope, stripped and not destroyed. Makes no difference to me. Which is, so the Mandalorian, I put, oh, whoa. Because the Mandalorian does get it down in the dumps every once in a while. He does need characters or NPCs or whatever to he can't do it all alone. He does need help. And sometimes it's just someone believing. I don't know. I like that. He says, oh, man, I'm toast. He goes, you can trade with them. I've spoken. And he says, hey, spit that out. What I put? HHH, or four backwards, 4. Probably a sound effect or something. Or maybe that's the sound the baby made. I've never seen that symbol. I can't even imagine what it is. It looks like I wrote 4 backwards 4s, except there's only 3. Then it's raining, and they're on a sled. It's slow. And crawling fortress. That's what the Jawas thing's called. Believe it or not, I've already fallen behind the episode. There's a Jawa sorting party. He says, they don't really like you. He goes, well... Then the Jawas' doors open. They say, you're not getting your parts back. He says, he gets grouchy. I think they said, he toodaloo. It might be one of something in Jawanese. I didn't hear Hakuna Matata in this episode, but that doesn't mean someone didn't say it. Peaceful. Oh, Yodi. That's what I put. Yodi this time. I watch is... I like how they kind of all sit down in I don't know, the Mandalorian, at first he sits cross-legged, but now he's like leaned back with one knee up and his arm on his knee, which is like a classic parlay position. I guess we'll call for that from now on. You say, what do you, like, getting some of the Bordeaux photography done or whatever? No, I'm in parlay position. But I mean, I guess you do, like, I don't think parlay position is so great. I mean, it's great for looking good. You might say, Scoots, what is parlay position? Even though we're in the middle of this episode, I say, okay, sit down on your bottom, on the ground. Okay, not on a chair. Now put both your legs in front of you, like extended, like you were going to do some toe touching or something. Now bring one knee up to your chest area. I think you're supposed to kick back, though, in some other way. Maybe then roll over onto your hip with your extended leg. And then you kind of put your arm on your knee that's up towards your chest. I don't know. I kept talking so long, the video moved without me, but that's parlay position. Or, lounging. I mean, it could also be when someone's feeding you grapes or something. These are my parts, he says. All the Jawa laugh at him because they say, you talk Jawa like a Wookiee. First they want the Beskar steel. He goes, no. Then he tells them to stay away from babies. Then they say, egg. Ron Perlman kind of says, not the egg. And they say, suga, which must be the egg. Then there's driving music, which is very good. And this is another small scene. Mandalorian is in the cabin of the rolling fortress or whatever, crawling fortress. He's kind of packed in there with the Jawas. He bumps his head. One of them looks at him and he says, Suga. In a very Minion-esque, but in a good way, like in a way that wasn't, I don't know. You see, well, I guess the Jawas were around before Minions, and they're not really Minions. They're doing their own thing. So they more bear a similarity to each other. Then he heads out with the baby, which makes sense because he said, I'm not going to leave this baby with anybody. Yeah, so him and the baby and the portable, what would I call it, the floating pram? Did I call it that? That might have been a Scooby-Doo episode, the case of the floating pram. But again, I think that would be a good magic trick with no children involved, even a 50-year-old baby. Oh, so cute. So they go into a small valley, or I don't know what a gully is, but this could be a gully. Then we see a little cavey poo, spelunking time, he says. And he says, my lad, stay behind and wait for me. I wouldn't leave you with Jawas, but I will leave you out here in this canyon alone. Just for a moment. He checks his gear. The baby watches. He kind of creeps into the spelunky. He puts on a headlamp. I don't know if that was a clip-on or if it was something that pops out of his helmet. But he does have a headlamp. We see kind of furry mud, very muddy because, of course, it rained earlier. Then we see an eye. Then we see the baby, oh, so cute, watching. And then the Mandalorian gets bounced out of the spelunky poo. Now, this is another place, again, I guess I really have a lot of positive things to say about this episode. I mean, I'm not even talking about I really enjoyed the episode, the story and stuff, but this is another one really worth your time, 1753 or so. And I think I actually had a dream about this last night. That's how much meaning it has to me. But again, I make audio. So it's 1753. The Mandalorian comes out, and then there's like you think there's like a pause of a beat or two. But start watching it when baby yo so cute is watching, and then the Mandalorian gets booted. Because there's this music that starts up that has like this industrial kind of feel to it that really works for the scene. Ian is just cool as, I got to say it, AF. I mean, it is working great. It just has like, I remember, I don't know if industrial music's still a thing. It maybe reminds me of like Ministry. I don't know if that's what comes to my mind, but it's not probably that intense just because but it underlies, I don't know, it's just really, really works. I mean, I rewatched it, but I mean, believe me, I've seen these episodes quite a few times. And it goes in, it's not in the whole sequence because there's so much action, because what happens next is, this is like this mud pie dance thing that the Mandalorian does, with Mama Suga, which maybe this is where the idea for that product, Suguru, came from, which you kind of use to fix stuff or clip stuff. or at least I do. But so they do this mud pie dancing where you make mud pies and you do interpretive dance with it. And the Mandalorian, not good at it. So it doesn't go well for the Mandalorian. And every time you don't do a dance that's the other person considers graceful, you have to put a mud pie on your head and let it trickle, So very soon he's covered in mud. And it also involves dancing and mud pie making in the mud. So he gets very tired. He still gets up every time to keep trying. And then, baby Oso Yoda, not Oso Raven, but Oso Yoda helps him with the mud dance. Music starts up again, I think. Then there's like this Metallica. Again, I don't know a lot about music or sound design, but I know when I like it. And not in a way that's if it's that I only notice it on the second or third or fourth time I watch the episode, not the first time. But so also his breastplate got ruined. But so then he wins the Suga. But even Baby Yoda's tired, so everybody takes a rest and naps. So Yoda sleeps. Mando gets up, he goes back into the cave. Oh, then he gets the Sugaru, which is a furry Cadbury egg. I forgot. It looked like it was something related to Snuffleupagus for Big Bird's imaginary friend. He's like, Snuffleupagus is Big Bird's imaginary friend, I think. Then the Jawas ready to go. Mando shows up just in time. They say Suga, which made me want to say banana. Then they eat the Cadbury egg. It was just a giant Cadbury egg, like one of those ones they sell where they say, yeah, you could get the world's, it wouldn't be the world's largest one, but, 8-pound Cadbury egg, and it's some ridiculous price, like $129. But that's what you win for the mud pie dance. They only like the yellow part of the Cadbury egg. Mando says, surprised you waited, Ron. And he says, surprised you took so long. Then they do a trip back. Baby sleeps, big load of parts, more good dialogue, especially when you think about this story-wise. He says, explain it to me again. And the Mando gets down again. It reminds me, so Mandalorian kind of reminds me of me, except for he's got a lot of skills and stuff, but his attitude at least. He says, there's no way this is going to work. And he says, Ron promises, if you care to help, there's much work to do. Also, I realize that it happens again with Sunrise, but there's a building sequence with music, which is kind of a standard, the kind of montage. The ship ends up looking really good. They do these last tests. Again, this is another thing I really liked, a little piece of dialogue. The Mandalorian says, I can't thank you enough. And then the guy says, well, you were my guest. And he goes, I could use you for a crew. The guy says, yo, I'm retired. No thanks. And the Mandalorian says, all I can offer is my thanks. I don't know. I really, and I think, I don't know if this is true, but when you think about the difficulty of the acting and the direction and the writing of having a character who may never take their helmet off, we just don't know, and wanting us to identify with the character, these moments are really important, I think. And it won me over. I think I already, because the first episode, the first time of this series, you might say, wow, this is going to be tough. To have this deeper emotional connection to this main character. So I don't know. I think these are very creative choices. I'm impressed in a way that I just enjoy. So anyway, and then he says, I have good luck with the child. I've spoken. As Mando watches him get off. And then the theme music builds. I put Baby on board. He starts the ship up. They head off into space. He checks out the baby. Yeah, he kind of, he says, wake up, sweet little Yoda, 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 yo. And then the baby doesn't wake up, and then he goes back to flying, and the baby does. And the baby wakes, and then the ship goes off. And then, I'd like to watch the whole credits because I like the whole, the whole, whatever, Mandalorian theme. I don't know what it's called. I should do. We're trying to avoid any Star Wars stuff, just to see how it goes with this, because I think there's just so much here by itself. But I don't know. I guess you said, well, I'm watching the credits, but I still don't. No, you're right. There was 9 paintings in this set of credits. And actually, it's going to come up right now. Now Baby Yoda's waking up and looking over. Mandalorian's looking out. Baby Yoda's looking at the Mandalorian, kind of grinning. And the ship heads off into space. And does it do a jump or does it just, no, then there's a wipe. Okay, so first painting is the Mandalorian in the floating pram walking in the canyon. Then the second one is the Mandalorian getting, like they say, you don't have a VIP pass to the VIP deck. Then there's one of him in the dust with the Cadbury egg. Then there's him and the other character, like campfire, talking about parts. Then there's the Jawa freighter thing. Then there's Mandalorian walking into the Spelunku. Then there's him meeting his dancer for the mud pie dance off. Then there's them working on the ship at night. And some nice night shots. Then Mandalorian walking to a ship carrying baby. Oh, so cutie. Oh. And actually, wait a second. Just want to have one more thing. I guess I don't have the ability to zoom in here, but I wonder what's in the reflection of the Baby Yoda's eyes there. I don't know. So that's the end of the episode. That's not the end of our discussion, though. Let's see. We got more to talk about. Believe me, be. So let's see what we got here. Mando 2 in my notes. Okay, so this Baby Yoda, as it's being called, and I realize it's not Baby Yoda. It's a creature with the same lineage as Yoda, possibly. But it did remind me of the Muppet Babies. I mean, Baby Yoda is very cute. I'm assuming it's a puppet. Not to spoil it, but it did remind me of the TV show Muppet Babies, which is a version on now. But there was also a version on when I was young, which I would have thought was in the 90s. If I had to guess, I would have said, yeah, like Muppet Babies, 1991 to 1995. But it was 1984, which was originally known as Jim Henson's Muppet Babies. It was an animated show on CBS from 84 to 91. And the show portrays childhood versions of the Muppets living in a nursery under the care of a woman identified only as the nanny, who appears in every episode, but his face is never visible. The idea of presenting the Muppets as children was in a dream sequence in the Muppets Take Manhattan, where Miss Piggy had a man. I'm going to have to rewatch those on Disney Plus. It was produced by Jim Henson Productions and Marvel Productions, and now Disney has the rights to both. The episodes were 30 minutes. It was typically shown in 60 or 90-minute blocks, and there's a reboot on. But listen to this: some of the voices: Greg Berg, Barbara Billingsley, Kate Lee, Lori O'Brien, Russie Taylor, Frank Welker, Howie Mandel, Dave Coulier. Let's see, overview, a large nursery. There's a lot of imagination. The first 2 seasons were 13 episodes. The third was 16. Fourth was 18. Fifth was 13. don't know if it was a Saturday morning or an after. I guess with 13 episodes, probably Saturday afternoon. I don't know. Sorry, Saturday morning. It had Kermit, Miss Piggy, Fozzie, Animal, Scooter, Skeeter, Rolf, and Gonzo. But Honeydew, Beaker, and Camilla also appeared. Bean Bunny, Stalder, and Sadler and Waldorf. Also Janice and Robin also appear. Yeah, let's see, production. This is all from Wikipedia. That's our main source for everything. Muppets Take Manhattan in 1984 was the third-length Muppet film. As we said, let's see. They turned the idea into a half-hour cartoon program in order for 107 episodes. They used two different companies in Japan and Korea. Let's see, productions. It was highly popular, ran on CBS. The height of its popularity ran in 2 or 3 episode blocks. For brief run, its second season, it became known as Muppets, Babies, and there was another show that came after that, like Little Muppet, Platypus, and we even had to replace the Garbage Pail Kids. That was, I guess, a show. Relaunching popular cartoon characters as young started a trend of relaunching cartoon characters as babies. I mean, I definitely remember. I mean, I could sing you the thing. I'll have to watch the new one. Let's see. There's no announced plans of DVD releases, but I wonder if the old one is on Disney Disney Plus. So it's a Disney Plus, or that's the old one. Now, the other one just started in 2018, and it's computer animated on Disney Junior. It targeted at children 4 to 7. It's a reboot. I don't know what that means. But it does have Kermit, Piggy, Fozzie, Gonzo, and Animal. Also has Nanny and Summer Penguin. That's a new Muppet. Second season came out this summer, so probably in a third season. Let's see what else we could use. Jenny Slate is one of the voices. Wow, that's cool. That's real cool. I wonder, let's see who she voices. Miss Nanny. Wow. I don't know. This is, I guess, an ABC. So this is an ABC one. That's impressive. It's cool that some of these people get to be, on the Muppets. Let's see, Disney Junior. I don't know. We'll see if season 3. I would presume it would get, Okay, speaking of the 80s, so there's a few shots of the Mandalorian kind of reaching his finger out towards baby. Oh, so cute. So it made me look up the movie E.T., which I thought I was going to look up last episode. I guess I didn't. It came out in 1982. And I don't know if people still watch E.T. I know, I think my daughter watched it with her mom, but I'm always like, I don't think, I've seen like clips of it, but I haven't seen the movie in a long time. And I guess I'd prefer to just see it as the whole movie. It was a science fiction movie about a kid who finds an extraterrestrial and learns to love. I think Drew Barrymore, Henry Thomas, Peter Coyote, Dee Wallace, Elliot's the kid, and E.T. is the extraterrestrial. It was a Steven Spielberg movie produced by Kathleen Kennedy, Universal and Amblin. It cost, the budget was $10.5 million. It made $792. It got re-released in 1995 and 2002. I don't think I went and saw it in 2002. That's too bad. And it was the highest grossing film of all time until Jurassic Park in 1993. I won't talk about the plot, but it's about phoning home. Call your mother already. That's what, just like with the voice memos, I say. Call your mother. Carl Rambaldi was the, helped create E.T. and Look, and Kathleen Kennedy helped to work on E.T.'s eyes, the look of them. Filming began in 81. It was filmed under cover name so that no one would try to copy the plot. Culver City is where a lot of it was shot. Music, John Williams' music. I guess there was like a few different, like one of the, like, I guess there's a famous script of like the E.T. 2 or whatever. And then there's the E.T. ride, which one day we'll do an episode about. We probably should do that before the ride closes. So I'll have to do that at some point. And, no, I'll phone home. But yeah, released, it was previewed in Houston because maybe that's where it takes place. And it opened with $11 million, which is funny nowadays. It had the top spot, and then it was a holiday season re-release. Ended up surpassing Star Wars. So, wow. It also had Reese's Pieces in there, which I think are awesome anyway. I didn't need E.T. to tell me that. Though I don't think I had them. Gandhi won the Academy Award that year. So that's also interesting. So just another movie. You could check it out. I guess there was a special edition, which is out of circulation, which was an extended version of the movie. There was an Atari game, considered one of the worst games ever made. Wasn't there, was that the one that, was that the game that's in the documentary? Yeah, then there's the attraction, $40 million attraction that opened in 1990 in Universal, Florida. So I'll go on that for everybody. There was a ET2, though recently I heard there was another, sequel circulating. Okay, but that's ET. What about Bryce Canyon National Park? It's famous for a couple things, I think, or maybe the other one. Maybe this is Zion and Bryce. I'm getting mixed up, but Bryce Canyon, which is, despite its name, not a canyon, but a collection of giant natural amphitheaters. So maybe Zion's the one with the canyon that you got to walk through. That's like really close. But Bryce is distinctive due to geological structures called hoodoos formed by frost weathering. It's really beautiful. Red, orange, and white colors of the rocks, spectacular views. It sits at a much higher elevation than nearby Zion National Park. It was settled by Mormon pioneers in the 1850s. It's in Garfield and Kane County, Utah, in the Colorado Plateau geographic province. Yeah, it is very beautiful. I guess I was thinking that there's a hike. It must be a Zion, so that you could go through, but you have to you have to reserve it. I think you're used to. Definitely something to check out. I guess they have a lodge. I think I went there. I don't remember going to any lodge or anything. I just remember going and looking at it. It's very beautiful. It has natural arches, something called Thor's Hammer, extensive fir forests. You could go snowshoeing or horseback riding. So check it out. Then Cadbury Cream Egg. You probably talked about this on the podcast before. It's only been around since 1971. Here's the most interesting fact. It's at the end of the Wikipedia article. It says, where is it? Something about B.J. Novak. I really like this. That B.J. Novak brought to attention, Conan O'Brien in 2007, that the Cadbury cream eggs have decreased in size, even though Cadbury states they're the same size. And it's pretty significant, 5 grams. So that's one thing. It's a Cadbury cream egg. I think I used to always want one. and they were either too expensive or something for kids to have. Then when I finally got one, I realized I didn't like it, but now I do like it. Like, I probably only have like one every couple of years. It's a dessert, chocolate shell with fondant filling, and it gets sold between New Year's and Easter in the UK. 200 million in sales. In 2016, though, they stopped using dairy milk chocolate and used a cheaper substitute. So I don't know if they changed that decision, but count me out, I guess. The Hershey makes them in the U.S., and Cadbury in the U.K., Cadbury Adams in Canada. Hershey's got the local rights here in the U.S. It was previously manufactured in New Zealand, but now they're imported from the UK. So it's a little bit confusing. They were first manufactured by the Cadbury brothers in 1923, but the current form was introduced in 63. And they're usually sold individually. You've probably seen them. I mean, you know what they are, but they were manufactured in Dundee from 1983 to 2009. Let's see, manufacturing process, varieties. I want to find more about this change. Oh, there's the change. They replaced it with standard cocoa mix chocolate and reduced the packaging from 6 eggs to 5 without lowering the price. And they said they think they lost $12 million in sales. So, yeah, and I'll link to it. There's a lot more about it, but it just reminded me of that. And then the last thing is Baby on Board. Reminded me of the Simpsons episode with the Homer's Barbershop Quartet. It was season 5, episode 1. So it kicked off the season. It was 1993. Also has George Harrison and David Crosby in the episode. Let's see. Written by Jeff Martin, directed by Mark Kirtland. It features the Barbershop Quartet with Homer, the B-Sharps, but it kind of follows the Beatles story, or parallels the Beatles story. Let's see, Bart. It goes into the past. And Homer's Barbershop Quartet, an album where he was nationally famous, him and the Barbershop Quartet, how they, reached success and it all fell apart. And their number one hit was Baby on Board, which is it reminds me of, so. One of the writers for The Simpsons suggested they create an episode based on a Barbershop Quartet as a parody of the Beatles. So Jeff Martin wrote it. Mark Kirkland, who's a big Beatles fan, directed the episode and made sure the references were accurate. Let's see. Animators liked creating the Beatles gags, enjoyed the music, synchronized everything and with the animation and fell in love with it. A little bit inspired by the Beatles film Let It Be. Let's see. B-Sharp's singing voices were provided by the 4 members of the Dapper Dan. So the Barbershop Quartet that used to be at Disneyland, I think they got replaced, unfortunately, because Martin had seen one of their performances and enjoyed it. Wow, I didn't know that. That's really cool. And the regular actors kind of provided backup. George Harrison was the second Beatle to be in a Simpsons episode. Ringo Starr was in an earlier one. Let's see. But it was a secret that he was coming in, even though, the creators did come to watch. Oh, I guess Matt Groening did not know it was a secret, though. There's a lot of effort. It's a really good episode. Now you can watch that on the same. It's interesting. It wasn't on purpose, but you can watch it on Disney Plus. So it's funny. It's like, can we watch this episode of The Simpsons, the first Muppet Babies, the second Muppet Babies, and Mandalorian? I don't know about the first Muppet Babies. I will say something I've been watching random episodes of is Gummy Bears, which was a kind of like a Smurfs knockoff that Disney made, but that I was always a big fan of. I don't know why. And I don't know why I preferred the Gummy Bears over the Smurfs. I'm trying to figure that out now by watching it. It's not interesting enough for me to watch an episode 5 times, so to do it as a podcast episode. But yeah, it's just, so that's another thing to check out. I guess I'm not getting paid for this, but, that is on Disney Plus. I was letting, I went to a random season of, what was the name of the show? Oh, Gummy Bears. There's another great theme song. So, worth it for the theme song. If you're a Smurfs fan, watch it and, decide. I mean, it's very similar to the Smurfs. I don't know what Peo had to say about it, but, who knows? Or Papa Smurf. But yeah, I guess because there was less, maybe it was just like, it's easy for me to, first of all, I guess a Papa Smurf and, the one Smurf that's kind of antagonistic was that Brainy. I don't know, Papa Smurf was just too, I guess because my relationship with Catholicism was so complex that Papa Smurf was too godlike for me. And then Brainy Smurf or whatever, whoever the Smurf was that wasn't nice, Judgy Smurf, I don't know, that one made me uncomfortable too. And something about the Gummy Bears makeup made me comfortable. And I think there was like a Christopher Robin vibe where there was a boy or something they hung out with. And then they drank like juice and they could bounce everywhere, gummy bear juice. So it's a little bonus, a little bit about the Gummy Bears, bouncing here and there, and a little bit of everywhere. Because, the Gummy Bears, the show, it was high adventure beyond compare. The name of the show was The Gummy Bears. Good night, everybody. All right, I want to say thanks, and good night to Victoria, Abby, and Ashley. Thank you, thanks, and good night to Poppy, June, and Jessica. Thank you, thanks, and good night to Steve, Debbie, and Wade. Thanks, and good night to Michael, Chelsea, and Gab. Thank you, thanks, and good night to Melissa, Andrea, and Pangolin. Thank you, thanks, and good night to Brittany, Mark, and Emily. Thank you, thanks, and good night to Joelle, Chris, and Heather. Thank you, thanks, and good night to Catherine, Allison, and Brad. Thank you, thanks, and good night to Naomi, Claudia, and Melissa. Thank you, thanks, and good night to Greg, Jenny, and Shaden. Thank you, thanks, and good night to Alexander, Nia, and Donna. Thank you, thanks, and good night to Melissa and Robin. And thanks, and good night to Joshua and Joe. Sleep With Me exists as a free podcast because the listeners that support the show directly on Patreon or through sponsors directly or by buying our merch or supporting the show. That's how we're able to give it to free for everybody, are those people that are actually actively engaged. And the show grows from people just spreading the word about the show and letting people know about their honest experience. And speaking of people letting people know about podcasts, here's one from Night Vale Presents I want you to know about.